Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Thursday, July 24th, a little after 8:30 at night, and this will be the video covering trades and holdings for the two YieldMax weekly paying income funds, ULTY, the Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund, and LFGY, the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income ETF. With it being Thursday, it's Dividend X Day, so if you had the shares before the day started today, you're getting that dividend tomorrow. A reminder, as always, I'm on X. If you want information about the videos posted, like yesterday when I let you know I was going to be running late, obviously you guys didn't like that very much. So the ULTY LFGY videos went from 2,000, 1.4, 1.9 to 775. So lesson learned. Get the video out sooner. But this was my last post because ULTY is hitting 2 billion tomorrow. I'm calling it. Calling my shot. Babe Ruth. All right, but market today, it was pretty much 50-50. If you looked at the green versus red on the thumbnail, it was about as 50-50 as it gets. So had some ups, some downs, and we will get through the sheets to see how that affected us and what trades were made. All right, we'll start with ULTY. And we like to start with the trades. Just in case you missed Wednesdays, my guess was 11 cents, even though the IV came out to 10.09 cents. I should have stuck with that because they announced 10.29 cents per share. All right, so yesterday there were a whole lot of more shares purchased that brought in more money for them to put to work, and that's what they did. So buying more shares of just about everything, plus adding 2 new stocks to the fund. If you saw it on the thumbnail, that's what the little plus symbol is. The Galaxy Digital, they happen to be in LFGY, so we're familiar with them already. And Snap Inc. I do not know anything about them. But then if you also saw in the thumbnail, there was a line through Now because ServiceNow, we sold our shares. All right. So that's really the gist of that. We basically sold all of ServiceNow. We sold 120,000 shares of Tesla, and then we put the rest of the money to work buying those 2 new stocks along with buying more of the other stocks within the fund. All right. Going through trades, AAOI, no rolling or closeouts. That's why there's no orange there. So it's just selling options to go with the new shares that were just purchased. That's the same for AppLovin, AST Space Mobile, Coinbase, and First Solar, bringing in 239,000, 121,000, 160,000, 27,000, and 80,000. Then same thing, but since it was a brand new one, I called that one out separately. Just starting the new collar position on Galaxy, since we just added that to the fund. So that we collected 960,000. Everything's sold out for next Friday, since there's no real time value left in this week. Not enough anyway for them. So, but that's a nice little addition on the day. Robinhood had a closeout and a roll, 2,724 contracts, getting to pay 16 cents a share to close them, and selling new for next week at the same strike, collecting over $3 a share, then putting the new money to work with some more, profiting or credit of $542,000. INOD and IONQ, just selling options to go with the new shares, collecting 417,000 and 234,000. Mara closed out. I don't think this was all of the. Hang on. Maybe I'm confusing the two. Right? No, it's not. It's not everything. This is about half of it, but closed out everything that there was at 18.50, paying 5 cents, and selling the new shares for 46 cents, plus putting the new money to work, collecting 701,000, almost 702. MicroStrategy buying to close those 425s, paying $1.18 and selling 422.50, so dropping the price slightly, plus putting the new money to work. It's a shame we didn't sell them whenever we sold those new shares, because they got $9.33 a share as opposed to $6.40. But either way, they made out well, collecting $621,000. Nebius, or however you say that, selling options to go with the new shares, collected $64,000. ServiceNow, this was just closing out the options part of the collar strategy. Since we sold all the shares, we're done with them completely. So that was a $1.2 million loss, or debit, we'll call it. Oklo, closing out their 66s, paying a decent amount for it. I believe they may be the biggest increase on the day. So we had to roll them up and out, and we tried to intraday trade them. So we originally sold them at 76, right? We closed these 2,000, call it 2,700 contracts, and then sold them at 76 for $2.92, and the stock just kept on going up. So they ended up having to buy to close them for $4.78. So they lost in between there. And then where did they ultimately sell them? They didn't. That's right. So they didn't ultimately end up selling them. So they will be able to sell those calls tomorrow. This other section of calls were with these 62, 69 contracts. So that was just a buy it once and sell it. Overall, that cost a lot, $6.2 million. But there's a silver lining. We did not end up selling these 2,700 contracts yet, so we still have them to sell. So there is a large portion of money that will come in. Obviously, nothing close to offsetting that, but there's still money to come in, most likely tomorrow on that. Palantir, closing out their 150s and 152.50s, paying a decent amount for them, but still able to collect nice premium, selling them for next week. I actually had to sell them 2 weeks out to collect the nice premium. Overall, only bringing in a credit of $20,000, just because. So we got a lot more than we paid for them, but the cost of the puts offset it. Reddit, we got a roll here too. The 145s cost almost $5 to close out. We sold 160, so we had to roll the price up a decent amount out till next week, but luckily there's nice premium there. All in all, it was a debit of $30,000. Not bad for having your strike blown through. Rigetti, I'm just noticing this. I might have forgot that. No, never mind. It's not a complete switch. So Rigetti just selling options to go with the new shares, collecting $88,000. SMCI, there is a buy to close in there, but it was not even a complete. It's just a partial. So we're not going to take that away, but profited or credit $228,000. New Scale Power, SMR. Here's another one. The stock price just kept going up, so it's okay. Buying to close, paying a decent amount, rolling our strikes up and out, taking a $5.3 million debit on that. But along with that, we're locking in a higher put, so we're protecting the share price at a higher price, protecting our NAV, and we will see a nice increase in the value on SMR on the next holdings page. Snap's the other new stock, so we bought all the shares, so we needed to sell options to get started. Collected almost $1.5 million. Tempest AI, selling options to go with the new shares, $105,000 credit. Tesla, obviously, unless you live under a rock, if you pay attention to the market today, you heard all about Tesla. I think they ended up down around 9% or so, or at least they were throughout the day. Made for nice opportunities to sell puts and get a lot of premium. But so we're gonna win trades on a stock that drops 9% in a day. So that's how that worked. We bought the close for nice and cheap, anywhere from 8 cents to 40 cents, and collecting right around $1, over $1, and $5. Well, that's a put. we sold. So we made money on our puts as well, right? Because when the stock drops, we're going to be able to buy to close our sold calls nice and cheap, and then we're going to be able to sell our puts that we had purchased and make money on them. So that's part of that NAV protection, we'll call it. So $1.9 million credit on Tesla, and then finally Upstart, Vertiv Holdings, and Vistra Corp selling options to go with the new shares purchased, collecting 71,183,000 and 151,000. So all in all, we did take a trading loss because we had a couple that went way through our strikes. So $4.5 million debit on the day. We are still in the positive though for the week. Haven't been able to say that for a long time. So unless things explode tomorrow, we may end up having a income on our trading and not be all return of capital. But generally, a big loss in trading coincides with a gain on the holding side. So we'll take a look at the holdings and see how they performed. So like I did say, ULTY does trade a collar strategy. That is where you own the shares, you sell a call out of the money above the strike price to collect income, and then you buy a put out of the money on below the price just to protect it in case the stock or the underlying drops. That way, if the stock sits still, you make money from the income from selling the calls. If it goes down, you're not losing too much value because the puts that you purchased will increase in value and you get to sell them at the end. And if it goes way up, well, that's okay. Your shares increase in value. You collected the premium between the original price and the price you sold the calls at, and so you still make some premium. It's basically the time premium, and that's what they're trying to do. They extract the time value out of these options. So that's why a lot of times you'll see them close out a trade, and it won't make a whole lot of sense timing wise, but there's basically no time value left, so might as well close it out while you can. But all right, teaching lessons over. AAOI was down 1.7% today. They've got options still expiring this week. The 28s are 8.3% out of the money, so it's looking like those will be closed for a win tomorrow. And they've got some out into August that are 12% out of the money. AppLovin was down 0.6%. That brought their calls back out of the money. They were in the money, so they should drop very nicely on the last day of trading, barring any huge increase. They could end up turning into a perfectly priced strike. AST Space Mobile up 1.9%. That took their 59s in the money. They expire tomorrow, so we'll see how things work out for that. As of right now, right, they would cost $1.06 plus whatever time value per share to close out. But AST Space Mobile's got a real high IV, so they're going to have plenty of extra premium on top of that $1.06. They've also got 63s out to August that are almost 5% out of the money. Coinbase was down 0.28%. They've got a handful of strikes here. 412.50s are about 4% out of the money. 415s are 4.6% out of the money. And then they've got 415s again out for the following Friday. First Solar up 0.5%. They got 177.50s that are 1.7% in the money, and 182.50s that are about 1% out of the money, all expiring tomorrow. Then they've got 192.50, 6.5% out of the money, expiring next week. Robinhood decreased a little, 0.15%, closed out these 107s. They still have 113s, but they are already rolled to next week, so we're not worried about them too much. They won't be getting closed tomorrow unless there's some major swings. Inno data down 2.34%. So when we bought these, we sold the options out all the way to the middle of August. So 50s and 55s, about 8 and 18% out of the money. no need to worry about them for a while. IonQ up 1.4%. Still out of the money with these 44s, but 0.23%. So they'll be pricey up to the end to close, but barring a big increase, we could win those trades. Mara Holdings down 1.76%. We rolled the 1850s. We still have 19s that are 10% out of the money, but they've already been rolled the next week. MicroStrategy up a little over 0.5%. They rolled the 425s to next week, and they already had 420s rolled to next week. They're 1.2% out of the money. Nebius Group up 0.54%. They have 53s and 54s, 1.6 and 3.5% out of the money, expiring tomorrow. Looking like we can win those unless they have a big day. ServiceNow, we don't care what it did. It was up today, so not bad. If it wasn't going to open up a huge can of worms, I would unhide the lines here so we could go up and see what we paid for them to buy in versus selling them. But I don't want to open 3,900 lines of information to go searching for it right now. You probably don't either. Oklo, the big winner today, up 11.3%. They basically rolled everything except for they've got 74s already rolled to next week that they left alone. They're 0.79% in the money. Palantir Technologies up 0.15%. They've been just making small increases all week. They kind of started in the money for the most part, and all in all, they've done well not to have closed them out earlier because they've only gone up fractions each day, and the time value has decreased each day. So while they did have to pay to close them out, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Reddit up 1.39%. They rolled the options that went in the money. They still have 150s to close out tomorrow, 1.26% out of the money, and 155s are already rolled to next week, 4.6% out of the money. Wait, we want to go back on that big winner. So we talked about it, right? We lost $5 or $6 million in trading because of Oklo's big increase, but take a look at that change in market value, $11.5 million. So that's why they are perfectly fine if our call strike prices get blown through. All right, what did we just talk about? Reddit, Rigetti, down 1.18%. They've got 1650s still left for this Friday, 3.5% out of the money, and they've got 1650s for next week. Obviously, same percentage. SMCI up 1.59%. Took their 52s into the money, but they did not close them out yet, so they're waiting until Friday for that closeout. About 1% in the money. Then they already have 55s for next week, 4.7% out of the money. New Scale Power up 6.6%. They rolled everything, so positions are now out till next week. The holdings download comes out tomorrow morning, and that's when I will update the left side of the screen. Tempest AI down 2.34%. That brought these 64s back out of the money, giving us a better chance to win them. 1% out of the money. Expiring tomorrow. Tesla, the big loser over here, down 8.2%. So they went ahead and took that roll. So here's why, if the stock goes up through the strike, you lose the trade and all, it's fine, right? Because you make a whole lot more in value than you lose on the trade. Whereas if the stock drops, this is where we decreased by 7.9 million in value, and we were only able to get back a portion of that in our trades, 1.9 million. So although that drop made it easy, we won all the options trades, we lost value in a much bigger way. So we want stocks to go up, obviously, to make everything work out the best. Upstart down 1.7%. Brought these 82s a little closer to the money, but they are still 0.85% in the money. They're the only things left to roll for this week. They've already got 6,000 contracts at 88 and almost 2,300 contracts at 90 that have been rolled to next week already, 6.4 and 8.8% out of the money. Vertiv Holdings up 0.5%. They've already rolled these 128s to next week, and they're already in the money by 2.1%. Same with the 136s. They are still 3.9% out of the money. And then Vistra Corp down 1.94%. Everything's rolled except for these 195, so they actually did well by not rolling them because another day went by and they got cheaper based on the drop today. So when they started the day, they would have cost $6.57 to close out. As of right now, if the stock were to make it all the way to the end of the day at that price, they'd only be $1.24 to close out. So throughout the day, they will get cheaper. I'm not sure how long they wait, though. On Fridays, they might close things out pretty early. 0.6% in the money on those, and the 210s are already rolled out to. Oh, then hold on. We got a couple different scenarios. Maybe I'm confusing myself. Yeah, they changed it. This is no longer the spread that I thought it was. So yes, they just have a set of 210s and 185s sold for next week, and 210s and 175s for the following week. 7% out of the money. All right, so we are up to $1,981,000,000 net assets, or assets under management, and that does not take into account today's $9 million increase in value. It also doesn't take into account any increase in outstanding shares, because this is from yesterday. Almost 30 million additional shares purchased yesterday, bringing us up to 318 million outstanding shares. I did the math. I can't actually remember what it came out to. I think it was definitely 1%. So if ULTY goes up 1% tomorrow, we're at 2 billion. And then I can't remember what it was, maybe less than 10 million shares or something like that, to get us there. But I think we're hitting, based on the way outstanding shares have been increasing lately, I think we're hitting 2 billion tomorrow. All right, let's switch over to LFGY. Start with the trades. Much different scenario over here. Start off by selling a small portion of basically everything within the fund, and that is to come up with the money to pay out the distribution. So all the math came out to, if I divided it by the amount of shares as of today, it came out to 63 cents per share, whereas they're only paying 48. But they're always going to do extra because they don't know how many people bought shares. I don't know, but just to have a little extra cash on hand. So they freed up some money. Obviously, that is not the way we want to come up with money, because every time we sell these shares, we have that much less to be able to sell options off of, and the whole point of these funds is to sell options to generate income. So not good. We don't want to have to keep doing this. But we go through these a little different. Only talk about the ones where there's like a complete roll, because they do a whole lot of partial trades. We don't want to talk about $39 trades. So Bitdeer, they did roll a full position, close out, roll to next week. They actually decreased, or it was a debit, about 250,000. As you can see, paying 88 and 61 cents to close them out, and collecting 69 and 60 cents, and actually getting to sell more than we even closed out. So we should have been making a profit, but when you buy the extra, call it the insurance policy, that's where that extra comes from. So decrease of 249,000, or a debit. Coinbase, not a large closeout at all, but it was a complete line item on the holdings page, so it gets the orange block. $43,000 profit on that closeout, paying 30 to 40 cents and collecting $8.75. That's a nice trade. Galaxy Digital, another roll to next week. Overall loss of $38,000. Hut 8 Corp, close out, roll to next week. Had to roll the strike up. Actually, had to roll the strike up and out and still. No. I'm sorry. I was looking at the purchased call. So rolled it down slightly. Closed 23s and 23.50s and opened 22.50s. So that's why we profited a small amount, 4,500. Mercado Libre took a win on these. This is the full position. So paying 83 cents to close out the 24.70s and sold 24.50s for next week, collecting practically $16, $30,000 profit. MicroStrategy, it's a small amount, but it was a full line item. So close out and roll to next week, going from 450s this week to 430s and 435s next week, $86,000 profit. And that's it for everything other than the partial trades. All in all, on the trading day, it was a loss, 111,000. We are still in the positive for LFGY as well, by nearly 900, a little under 900,000, 800 and some thousand. So we'll take a look at how the holdings within LFGY did. BitDeer was the big gainer, only up 2.78%. So we know not a lot of great increases over here. They rolled the 1450s that were further in the money. They still have 15s that are 1% in the money left to roll tomorrow. CleanSpark down 0.88%. Can't believe they didn't close these all out. They started the day 8 cents. They dropped, and a whole nother day went by. So they can't be more than a few cents to close out. But closing them tomorrow, 9.4% out of the money. Coinbase down 0.28%. They took the win on this smaller position, 70 contracts that are 7% out of the money, and they already have 420s that are rolled to next week, so they weren't going to close them out, 5.8% out of the money. Core Scientific up close to 1.5%. They've got 14s and 1450s still left to roll tomorrow. They're 2.2 and 5.9% out of the money. Again, right, these started the day 5 cents. Surprised they didn't already roll them. But Internet Group, the big loser over here. They seem to kind of always be the big winner or the big loser. They make big swings. Down 4.6%. They've already been rolled to next week, and they 215s are 11.4% out of the money. Galaxy Digital up 2.77%. They rolled the 30s that were 5.9% in the money. They still have 3350s, much larger position or much smaller position, 5% out of the money, and 33s that have already been rolled, another small position, about 3.5% out of the money. GameStop down 1.7%. These still need to be rolled. 24s, they're 2% out of the money, expiring tomorrow. Robinhood down 0.15%. These have already been rolled to next week. They're 14 and 17% out of the money. Really, the one we care about more is the 17%, 1,250 contracts. Hut 8 Corp down 2.36%. They took the win on the 2350s that were further out of the money. They still have 23s to roll tomorrow. They're 8.8% out of the money. Should be a nice profit on those. Let me take a quick break. We've been saying that a lot lately. So for things that are still left to roll, BitDeer's in the money, but it's not really going to cost us a whole lot to close out. So we'll probably still make a profit on that roll. Definitely going to make a profit on CleanSparks. That one's already done. Looking to make profit on Core Scientific's roll. Galaxy Digital looks like it'll be a profit tomorrow. GameStop looks like it'll be a profit tomorrow. Hut 8 Corp looks like it's going to be a profit. So far, it's looking like tomorrow is going to be a good trading day, profit and loss wise for us. Mara Holdings already has been rolled, 1950s. They're 12.98% out of the money after today's drop of 1.67%. I skipped IBIT. unintentionally. They were up a little over 0.5%. No options to trade on that one, so it's just 96,000. And I don't mean there are no options; they just don't trade options on it. I've got comments from people that say they actually like to sell out of the money options on IBIT on I think they said weekly basis, and they're doing pretty well. MBTX, we don't own any shares, so we don't have the gray line to show our shares and their values, but we have two spreads, a credit call spread where 295s are sold. They're 4.6% out of the money after today's increase to 281.88, and we have a put spread, a debit put spread. So the 230 is purchased. That's the one that is going to make us our money. At one point it was worth $6 million. It's now down under $2.5 million of value. So we are bleeding on that one for sure. Mercado Libre down 0.14%. Everything's been rolled. We talked about that one. MicroStrategy up a little over 0.5%. We rolled the remaining 725s. That's a date, 725, 450. We already have 430s that have been rolled to next week. They're 3.6% out of the money. NU Holdings down 1.62%. Still need to roll these 13s. There's not a lot of them though. 1.96% out of the money. Looking like we should make some profit on the trade tomorrow. And we also have 13s that have been rolled to the following week. That's our large position. Again, just about 2% out of the money. Nvidia up 1.73%. Stayed out of the money though. So we still need to roll these 175s tomorrow. They're 0.7% out. Opera or Oprah down 3.12%. They're out all the way to August 15th, and they're 17% out of the money. They're going to be down to pennies to close out. They might end up closing and rolling them to a lower strike to collect more premium. PayPal up 1.5%. Already have been rolled to August 1st. So these 79s, we need them to hold out for the next week. 1.5% out of the money. Riot Platforms up 2.4%. That took these 1450s in the money by 1.29%. They still need to be rolled tomorrow. So do these 1650s. They are 12.3% out of the money. They started the day 2.5 cents to close out. Not sure why we didn't close them. Block up just a fraction. What did it? 7 cents. We've got 81s and 83s. The 81s, so the 81s are sold calls that we need to pay to close out. They're 1.5% out of the money, so that's good for us. Then we have a debit call spread. We bought 83s and sold 84s. The 83s are 4% out of the money. The way to make money on them is for them to go in the money. So it will not be nice closing that out tomorrow, but it's really not that much money. All in all, we had a $291,000 decrease in value. Fairly inconsequential. Assets under management's $190 million. There was an increase yesterday of 100,000 outstanding shares, bringing us up to $4.8 million. NAV and the closing price are always off basically by a day, but then also when we get around dividend, ex-dividend date, when things drop, it gets a little funny, but by the weekend, when everything's caught up and the market's not moving, they generally are within a couple cents of each other. So, okay, so quick recap. ULTY is going to hit $2 billion tomorrow. They took a $4.5 million loss trading and paired that with a $9.1 million increase in value on their holdings. Didn't mean to go to that tab. And LFGY, like we just said, $111,000 loss in trading and a $291,000 decrease in value. Now, somebody's going to ask, well, I thought that a loss on one goes with a profit on the other. Yes and no. If you had the market's up, then your values all go up, and then you lose your trades. Or if it's down, then you're going to decrease bad in value, but you're going to win your trades. But when it's such a small amount, right, it's not like they closed out all the positions or anything even close, so it's not really a full representative. We've got a lot to trade tomorrow. I think we're going to have a nice I think we're going to end up having a nice trading week here. Not to make a lot, but hey, we're just happy to not have a negative sign on the income estimate when we do that this weekend. So I got a dad joke of the day for you. So before I do, thank you everybody for watching. Sorry for yesterday's getting out so late. Hopefully everybody comes back and watches this one. But also, let me know if you're interested. I'll start talking about this a little more. Granite Shares reached out to me and asked me to start covering some of their yield boost funds. So anybody trading any of those or interested, or maybe I'll just kind of make a video to talk so much of a coverage video. But thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. If you're not subscribed already, please click the button. We did get over the 2,000 subscriber mark, so appreciate that. But here's your dad joke of the day. Why did Karen press Control-Alt-Delete? Because she wanted to see the task manager. My kids think the name Karen is hilarious, so when they met my Aunt Karen, they couldn't believe that they actually met a real person named Karen. Dad, her name's Karen. Yeah, that's a normal name. It's not just a joke. But okay, and then it's my dad's sister and his stepbrother, so they all watch these videos, so they'll get a kick out of that as well. But all right, thank you, and good luck trading tomorrow, and catch you in tomorrow's video. Good night.